First-person shooters have come a long way since the days of Doom, so it's only a given that the FPS games of today play somewhat differently to their predecessors. Of course, many of the elements seen in older titles have found their way into modern-day shooters, ranging from fairly ordinary things like item pickups to actually emulating the aesthetics and art style of the age gone by. I will admit that I'm not all too knowledgeable in the technicalities of developing a first-person shooter. However, I'd like to think that my decent amount of experience playing FPS games can make for some conversation instead. And no, I'm not just talking about the length of time I've been interested in the genre. The variety of shooters that I've come across is what I want you to take note of. From Quake to Neon White to TF2 to the other TF2, I've played what you'd consider mainstream, and I've enjoyed games which you've never heard of before. Consequently, I've acquired a somewhat sophisticated palette for gameplay mechanics in particular. As much as I enjoy the act of good old-fashioned pointing and clicking on dudes, I've been spoiled by the newfangled likes of market gardening, explosive sniping, and even parrying. Yet, as you may have already guessed from the thumbnail, nothing can really compare to the art of the ricochet. Let's cut to the chase. Today, I want to talk to you about a pair of first-person shooters which seriously take ricochets to the next level. Yeah, it's already 2024, so I'm sure you saw this one coming. I think we can both agree on the idea that ULTRAKILL popularized the idea of the ricochet in FPS culture. Still, whether you're familiar with the game or not, I'll suss things out for the sake of it. Fundamentally, ULTRAKILL will give you the ability to throw loose change all over the place for the primary purpose of ricocheting that money and your revolver's bullets into enemy weak points. I can vividly remember my first time landing a hit, thinking this new mechanic was the next best thing since butter on toast. Boy, was I in for a treat, because as cool as this concept is in its own right, that's only the tip of the iceberg. The thing is, ULTRAKILL is the type of shooter which prides itself on the multitude of interactions your arsenal can have, either with itself or the world, and that's definitely the case for the game's ricochets. For starters, if shooting a single coin isn't enough to satisfy the crowd of bad guys, why not chuck out a couple more so your bullets can ricochet off even more bucks, giving them a flashy light show? On the other hand, I mentioned explosive sniping earlier on, didn't I? Well, it just so happens that ULTRAKILL is no stranger to this mechanic too. Of course, sniping grenades is as gangster as sniping coins, but wait till you start doing both at the same time. Hell yeah. Oh, but before you get the wrong idea, your revolver isn't the only thing that can enable coin ricochet shenanigans. In fact, you'll find yourself handling a few giant laser-firing rail cannons which do the trick even better. Now, depending on what suits your fancy, you could pierce your foes with a devastating bolt of lightning, or instead blow them away with a volatile beam of destruction. Speaking of lasers, a couple enemies in ULTRAKILL will try to take you down with their own rays of death too, now that I think about it. So, considering the fact that you're able to target coins with lasers, wouldn't things get a little bit dicey if they managed to… I suppose the poor chap didn't try to remember the basics of Sokotoa. About 2 years ago, I was watching a live stream over on Twitch. Not just any old live stream, mind you. Specifically, I was tuning into my friend Highs, and he was beta testing an FPS that had immediately caught my attention. Don't worry, I'll spare you the unnecessary details. All you need to know is the fact that this shooter is called REAVER. Unlike ULTRAKILL's coin-based tech, REAVER's ricochets mostly manifest themselves in a more traditional manner. That is to say, pure trigonometry. Your starting revolver eases you into building the foundational skills of ricochet mastery, and trust me when I say you'll need a bit of practice, considering the complete lack of auto-aim a ricochet's environmental bounces have. Of course, if you're not feeling it, the starting revolver does offer an additional secondary alternate fire, which functions almost identically to ULTRAKILL's basic coin ricochet, except you're blasting flying heads rather than airborne dollars. This is quite nifty one way or another, but such a based and initiated gamer like yourself wouldn't settle for just that. So next up, meet Aaron's Echo, the mathematician's big iron, fired with the intention to give your opponent the very last trigonometry lesson they'll ever learn. Bear witness. Okay, that didn't seem to do very much, did it? Man, I wasted time hyping this all up, and I embarrassed myself in front of you. I could have just headshot the guy normally. Hold it! Headshots, right? Now that is what we're talking about. Rewarding a ricocheted headshot with even more headshots? That's really nice. And would you look at that, the alt fire instantly recharged itself too. Talk about positive reinforcement. Okie dokie. In all seriousness, I know that despite the amount of praise I give this ricochet mechanic over the others, hitting these kinds of trick shots isn't for everyone. Fortunately, if you're playing REAVER well enough with the rest of your weaponry, the starting revolver's ricochets are still a ton of fun to default to instead. I know I mix in some air shots more often than not, but if you do need a little extra motivation to kickstart your Aaron's Echo grind, just have a look at this. Yeah, that's the Echo's ultimate ability. Badass. Whenever the topic of slick FPS mechanics pops up in a conversation, I'll point zealously towards ULTRAKILL and REAVER ricochets without fail. One might ask whether I believe REAVER implements ricochets better than ULTRAKILL or vice versa. However, I have a genuine, unbiased love for each game's ricochets, and pitting the two against each other in such a way feels pretty unfair. Yes, I have been grouping all of these mechanics under the umbrella term of ricochet, yet the inherent differences in their design philosophies basically turns this into an apples to oranges comparison. ULTRAKILL ricochets are about flexibility and variety, because the game itself will subtly prevent you from relying solely on a single kind of damage output, let alone ricochets, and that's for the betterment of your enjoyment in this specific shooter. REAVER ricochets are about focus and specialization, because having a signature move in a stylish game is so empowering. Fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times, as Bruce Lee once said. Either way, if by chance you know of more really interesting ricochet mechanics in gaming as a whole, please do tell me about them in the comments. Or if you simply found today's ramblings somewhat interesting, perhaps you could send a like and subscribe my way. For now though, this is literally all I wrote, so I guess I'll catch ya in the next one. Until then, take care.